Time now for a look at some of the day's top business news, starting with Donald Trump's declaration of a national economic emergency in the U.S. as Washington moves to ban the technology of so-called foreign adversaries, notably Chinese tech giant Huawei. Brian Quinn joining us from the business desk, and he has all the details.
Oh, Will, Huawei is certainly the target as Washington took a two-pronged approach on Wednesday after President Donald Trump signed an executive order declaring that national emergency over threats to the U.S. tech industry. The Commerce Department has put the company on a key government blacklist. That all could weigh very heavily on the company's future. Cole Stangler has more.
A 1-2 punch from Washington against China's tech giant. First, an executive order from President Donald Trump declaring a national emergency over threats to the country's telecom network.
We're having a little squabble with China.
Then the Commerce Department put Huawei on its so-called entity list, a move that will force the company to get government approval before doing any business with U.S. firms.
This will prevent American technology from being used by foreign-owned entities in ways that potentially undermine U.S. national security or foreign policy interests.
The U.S. can still give the green light for firms to work with Huawei, but if it uses its new veto power, it could significantly disrupt Huawei's business, and not just in the U.S.
And that means that Huawei, for instance, will not be able to work with American manufacturers of U.S. microchips, for instance, or with Google that provides the operating system for Huawei phones.
Huawei has long maintained it's not a security threat and said consumers will pay for Washington's move.
Restricting Huawei from doing business in the U.S. will not make the U.S. more secure or stronger. Instead, this will only serve to limit the U.S. to inferior, yet more expensive alternatives.
The clampdown on Huawei comes with the U.S. and China locked in a costly trade dispute and swapping hikes in tariffs. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin is slated to visit China soon for more talks.
Over to the markets. Asian indexes mixed on Thursday as those trade tensions heat up. The Nikkei in Tokyo closing down around 0.6% there. We see it. Chinese indexes pushing into positive territory after losing ground earlier in the day. Hong Kong's Hang Seng up around 0.33%. The Shanghai Composite up around 0.6. The Kospi in Seoul ending the day down 1.2%. European indexes opening in the red despite news that Donald Trump plans to delay tariffs on EU-made cars by 6 months. London, Paris, and Frankfurt all down just under 0.2% at the open. Next, France's largest yearly tech conference kicks off Thursday. Hot new startups alongside leaders of established tech giants. Those all gathering at the Porte de Versailles Conference Center here in Paris. France 24's tech editor Julia Seeger is there for all the action. She joins us live. Things should be getting underway just about now. Julia, what's the scene there like so far?
That's right, Brian. The French President Emmanuel Macron is actually starting to tour the Viva Tech trade show. And we know that he's excited about it because he is a tech enthusiast. When he was serving as the economy minister under François Hollande, the previous president, he really did a lot to boost the tech startup ecosystem here in France. Now, the event is also important for him because he's been trying to topple Britain as the top tech nation, and this event is definitely helping him shine on the international scene and show that France has everything it takes to become an important tech player. Now, as you said, it's the 4th edition of the Viva Tech trade show, and what's for sure is that over the course of those 4 years, it's really managed to become an unmissable hit event here in Europe.
Well, what are we expecting to see in particular out of this year's conference? What are the special attractions this time?
Well, this year, Viva Tech is definitely bigger. It's added an extra hall at the event. There are about 9,000 companies, 2,000 startups, 100,000 people are expected to visit, so it is bigger. It's also more international. 1/3 of all participants are coming from outside of France. The speakers list is also much more international and more prestigious. We'll hear from the CEO of Alibaba, Jack Ma, but also from Ginny Rometty, the CEO of IBM. This year, Viva Tech will address 4 main topics. We'll talk about women in tech. We'll also talk about how to boost new tech talents. We'll talk about tech for good, and we'll also talk about Europe. As I said, it is a main theme this year. One of the goals is to try to develop more French unicorns, those companies that are valued at over $1 billion. There are about 350 worldwide, mainly in the US and China, and there are only 5 here in France. So the government wants to change that. The digital minister has set an ambitious goal of having 20 unicorns as of 2025. It's a theme that we will be developing on our tech show, Tech 24, during a specific edition out of Viva Tech 2019.
Breeding unicorns in France. That's France 24's tech editor, Julia Seeger. Thanks so much for that. Well, finally, for business, can you keep up with the world's fastest man? Maybe on wheels. Retired superstar sprinter Usain Bolt was in Paris Wednesday to launch his new electric scooter company, Bolt. But while the name may be apt, the timing could be better. Paris is already home to some 10 other e-scooter companies, and City Hall is starting to crack down. Starting in September, fines for riding on the sidewalk will take effect, and firms will have to pay an annual fee of up to 65 euros for each scooter they have on Paris streets. Bolt says that for once, it's not about coming in first, but about doing things right with new and improved scooters. More scooters on Paris' streets. Well, just what we need.
Just what we need. At least he's wearing a helmet.
That is what we really do need. I've seen so many near misses lately. Just scooter on scooters. Like,
so dangerous, so now pedestrians need helmets as well, just to walk on the sidewalks here in Paris. All right, thanks very much, Brian. Brian Quinn with a look at the business news.